Now, Fox 29 remains committed to sharing stories and having important conversations about how we can all work together to save our streets from the raging gun violence.
So right now we've had 556 lives lost in our city, and so many people, just children that we've lost as well. So that overall number is 13% higher than what we saw last year and 200 more people than back in 2019.
We want to focus on getting answers and getting solutions. And Philadelphia Police Commissioner Danielle Outlaw joins us now on more about what's being done, what can be done as we head into the new year. Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Appreciate you getting up and doing this with us this morning.
It's my pleasure.
Let's kind of start there as we focus on solutions. Heading into the new year, are there specific steps that you have to get these numbers down? It's something we're all focused on.
Yeah, and I think we all tend to focus, it's the natural thing to do. We focus on the fact that it's the new year, right? And then, it's a natural line of delineation. But for this is ongoing, and we know that violence tends to happen in cycles. We also know that our non-fatal shootings and our homicides, although we've been increasing some spikes or multiple shootings in one incident towards the end of the year, we also see that we've been slowly chipping away at that. In our pinpoint areas, we've seen some steady declines, quite frankly, double-digit declines. So we know what we have been doing is working. But in 2022, moving forward, to answer your question, you'll see us talk more about the use of forensics, specifically as it relates to our homicides. I won't go exactly into detail as to what that looks like, but it'll be more use of DNA as it relates to investigating our homicides. And then also, we know that we need to focus more. Go ahead.
I'm fascinated by that. So what do you mean more than normal, like we see on all the crime shows and everything? Like, what does that mean to help use the DNA with that we weren't already doing?
Well, there's a reason why I glossed over that, because I don't want to go into too much detail as to exactly what that means and show our hand. But we have the ability to use DNA in different ways. And so we're going to be expanding our capacity through the use of an outside contractor, an outside lab, to look at evidence as it relates to homicides in ways that we had not done before. And then hopefully we see some gains or, coming out of that, and then we'll be able to expand that. Obviously, when we say expand, that means more funding, that means more space for our lab, and that means more people, more resources.
Commissioner, that sounds exciting, and that sounds like a program I may know of running up there in Bucks County out of Ben Salem. That might be something, just nod if that might be something similar to what you're talking about right here.
Well, again, I don't want to be too cryptic. That's not my intent, but it really is, again, the use of DNA in different ways. But it's I don't want to say it's hit or miss, but it's not 100%.
Correct.
So we want to make sure before we throw all of our financial resources into that, before we go asking for more money to build an entire new lab, we want to make sure that this works, actually. Right. And we're excited about that. We realize we have to do something new.
There is, as we go out and talk to a lot of people about our Save Our Streets initiative, a lot of the people who are on the ground, the community groups, one of their concerns is that they can't get funding, they can't get support, they are not working closely enough with the police department or officials or what have you. How important is it that we establish these relationships and take these best practices and kind of expand them?
What we're talking about, what I've been talking about from day one, has been about relationships. It's been about the fact that police can't do this alone, and that there are other stakeholders here that are either on the ground or in various parts of the city that have a role to play in this. And what I appreciate is that people recognize this. Community recognizes this. People in the community are more willing to come forward to a credible messenger and share information, quite frankly, more readily than they would tend to come to us, because there's people with lived experience that they can trust. And then, it's the police, right? And so recognizing that, we work through other entities in the city. Obviously, the police department are the ones responsible for issuing the grants. But we recognize the importance of having credible messengers on the street, working with the police, and then also with the services side of our gun violence measures. So I wholeheartedly agree with that, and we are in full support of those who are out there on the ground doing the work.
Kyrie, one of the things I'm thinking, I'm looking at the picture of Kyrie's. That's what it's making me think about it right now. When we lose a young person, it hurts our heart. And we've lost way too many young people, certain this year. And we've seen also that they've been the perpetrators with the carjackings. But let's get specifically to what you're talking about. When we had that loss of a young person, Kyrie, over at the Christie Rec Center, there was a great partnership that started that we've reported on with our community stakeholders and the AG's office and the police. And things like that are starting to see like a measurable difference.
Absolutely. And that's what, when people say, well, tell me about 2021 and what would we like to see more of in 2022? For me, I want to know what worked, what can we replicate, what can we put in a bottle and sell it? And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Local, state, federal collaboration was stronger than ever, I would like to think, in 2021, more so than it was in 2020. And with us being a member or having been selected as a site for the public safety partnership at the federal level, I think we'll see more of that. We were able to put a dent in a lot of what we saw through the help of our task force work, whether through the AG's office, working with the FBI, working with the ATF, and on our gun violence task force, actually through the DA's office. So I think the more of that we're able to do, the more we'll be able to chip away at this and announce a lot of the arrests that we have been over the recent months.
Commissioner, a lot of us look at and hold you accountable because of your position. I want to talk to you just for a second. You're a police commissioner, but you're also a mom. Is this as personal to you as it is to everybody who's sitting there watching it? You're raising, I mean, they're not young, but you're raising children too.
I would still say raising. They're never out of your pocket. You never lose. I still can't go to sleep, even though they're 23 and almost 21, until I know that they're home. If they've been traveling or, my oldest son works crazy hours and he commutes, he doesn't have a car. And so I'm still a mom. So it's a gut punch whenever I hear about a young person or anybody, quite frankly. But when I hear about young people, we're talking about potentially losing an entire generation. And it's not just to gun violence, young people being shot and killed, but they're losing their lives because they're the shooters. They're the offenders. And so, again, talking about 2022, we want to do more around strengthening our relationships and getting ahead of what we can do with partnering with those who work with our young people, whether it's those who have the warm touch points through schools or after school programs or whatever it is. What is it that can be done to identify young people who are at risk of being shot or being shooters well in advance of, something happening? The common denominator, though, that we tend to skirt around is that they're guns. Guns are just everywhere, accessibility to weapons. A lot of these school fights, a lot of these social media beefs, a lot of the road rage incidences, they would not be shootings. And it sounds really obvious here, but they wouldn't be shootings or homicides. Non-fatal shootings are homicides if there wasn't a gun in the equation.
So
we're seeing more and more people, young people with guns in their hands.
You've been doing the gun buyback programs. We're showing some video of those gun programs, which have been highly successful as well. Our kids, we know the Inquirer did a great thing about so many of these robberies for people. The motive really is to get guns, to have stolen guns, to have the weapons out on the street. We've seen so many of these carjackings that have been really young. We had the Congresswoman just the other day with 13 and 14-year-olds. So what are we doing with our rec centers and the curfew right now? Is there a curfew in effect or some move on that, to get our young people in that structure, especially as the schools keep going virtual?
Yes, I know we've been working again with other city stakeholders to get the curfew centers, or that's not the proper name of them, but to get the resource centers up and running. To have a curfew is one thing, but what happens when we get a young person? What happens next? What resources are they being provided? What are we doing to make sure that they're no longer out here past the hour that they should be, right? So that's one part of it. But we have been partnering with our rec centers, programming, you name it, from day one. In the summers, we increase our visibility around the rec centers. But when you talk about enforcement, that's a short-term thing, right? We can only be in a hotspot or an area for so long. The conversation needs to also continue around what happens after, what happens to sustain or maintain the enforcement efforts once the police have moved on or need to move on, because quite frankly, we don't have the resources or the manpower that we had 2 years ago to have a cop on every corner, or even 10 years ago. So we have to continue to work collaboratively, again, with all stakeholders. And that's why I appreciate the question around those who are on the ground doing the work. There's a role and responsibility for everyone, not just the police.
We're going to have to stop there with the collaborative. And with our whole Save Our Streets initiative, we want to be your partner. This is our city. So we want to work with you, and we hope you will continue to work with us, because
Absolutely.
together we need to do something about this.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time, Commissioner, and have a happy New
You're
Year.
welcome. Happy New Year.
You take care.